So we need to be aware. Okay, next slide. So we've seen that we're to tear down strongholds. Next slide. So it's a biblical mandate, but apologetics strengthens our own faith. Next slide, because what we begin to understand is that Christianity is built on evidence, not just myths or speculation. Evidence. It's interesting that even in the ministry of Jesus and John the Baptist, when John the Baptist was in prison, he sent the disciples to Jesus. And he said to the disciples, you ask Jesus if he is the one that we are looking for or if there is another. In other words, are you really the Messiah? Now, this was John the Baptist who baptized Jesus and heard the words out of heaven, this is my beloved Son. And yet when it came to the end of his own life, when he is about to be martyred, he had this question, are you really the Messiah? So there are those who have doubts, and doubts are not bad. But what did Jesus say to the disciples? He said, you go and tell John that the deaf hear, the lame walk, and said, remind him of all the miracles that I have done. So what was he doing? He was giving John evidence. So as we do our own studies to be able to answer the questions of others, it strengthens our faith because we learn the evidence behind the message. We learn the why behind the what. And that strengthens our own faith. Next. Apologetics. Let's look at the next one. Keep going. Apologetics is part of evangelism. It's pre-evangelism. A lot of times, even before we get to the gospel, we may have a conversation with somebody about God, about Christianity. For instance, even before you get to the gospel, you may have somebody ask you this question. If your God is so loving and so powerful, why is he allowing the Boko Haram to kill so many Christians in Nigeria? Or the Fulani tribesmen? You say your God is all powerful? How do you explain that? And so that may be a defense that you have to make or explain even before you get to the gospel. So apologetics is also pre-evangelism because that may open the door then to further discussion, further communication about the person of Christ, his sacrifice, and his resurrection. So it's a part of evangelism. Next, it gives us the why we should believe the gospel. One of the presentations that I give is how to know that Christianity is true. And we go back to 1 Corinthians 15, where Paul says this, if Christ did not rise from the dead, our faith is in vain. You remember that verse? And we're still in our sin. There's a test. Can you explain to somebody else why you believe Jesus rose from the dead, except, well, the Bible says so? You need to go a little bit farther than that. You need to be able to explain the eyewitnesses. You need to explain the importance of the resurrection story